The old keeper of stories sat in the center of the great hall. Around him gathered the young ones from 12 different species. Their eyes and optical sensors and heat pits all focused on the ancient being. The keeper was one of the oldest living creatures in the known universe. He had seen empires rise and fall. He had watched stars die. But tonight, the children wanted to hear only one story. They wanted to hear about the humans. The keeper closed his many eyes and began to speak. His voice carried the weight of 10,000 years. Long ago, the galaxy was broken. Every species lived in fear. The Empire controlled the inner systems with brutal force. The crystalline collective owned the outer rim and harvested entire worlds for their growth. The machine intelligence spread like a virus through the middle territories, and between them all, smaller civilizations were crushed like insects. War was eternal. Peace was a forgotten dream. The great powers had fought for so long that no one remembered why they started. Children were born knowing only conflict. Entire generations lived and died on battleships. The galaxy bled and no one could stop it. Then the scouts found Earth. The first contact team was from the Federation, one of the few neutral powers left. They were peaceful explorers, scientists who mapped new worlds. When they entered the Sol system, they expected to find another quiet planet. Perhaps some simple life forms. Perhaps nothing at all. What they found terrified them. Earth was They had seen dangerous planets before, but nothing like this. The atmosphere was corrosive with oxygen. The star bombarded the surface with radiation. The planet itself was alive with violence. Massive storms covered entire continents. The ground shook and split open without warning. Fire erupted from mountains. The oceans were filled with predators that could swallow their ships whole. And somehow, impossibly, intelligent life had evolved there. The humans lived on this nightmare world as if it were normal. They breathed the poisonous air. They swam in the acid oceans. They built their cities in places where the ground could destroy them at any moment. They watched in horror as these creatures went about their daily lives on a planet that should have killed them 1,000 times over. The contact team wanted to leave immediately. They wanted to mark the system as forbidden and never return. But their captain, a young named Saras, made a different choice. She landed her ship and stepped onto the surface of Earth. The humans did not attack her, they welcomed her. This was the first surprise. Species were supposed to be violent beyond reason. They were supposed to kill anything that entered their territory. But the humans offered Saras food and shelter. They showed her their cities and their art and their music. They asked her questions about the stars with bright, curious eyes. Saras stayed on Earth for 1 local year. In that time, she learned the truth about humanity. Yes, they were Yes, their bodies were built for survival in the harshest conditions. They could heal from wounds that would kill any other species. They could function without sleep for days. They could eat almost anything organic and survive. Their endurance was beyond measure. Their physical strength was terrifying. But that was not what made them special. Humans had something that no other species in the galaxy possessed. They had hope that refused to die. They had been through ice ages and plagues and wars that nearly destroyed them. They had faced extinction more times than they could count. And every single time, they had refused to give up. They picked themselves up from the ashes and built again. They looked at impossible challenges and found ways to overcome them. More than that, they had the ability to work together, not just with their own kind, but with anyone. Humans formed bonds with other species on their own planet. They kept animals as family members. They mourned trees when they died. They saw life everywhere and wanted to connect with it. Saras returned to the Federation with her report. She told them that the humans were not a threat. She told them that the humans might be the answer to everything. No one believed her. The great powers ignored Earth for another century. The wars continued. The death toll rose into numbers that no one could comprehend. Systems burned. Species went extinct. The galaxy fell deeper into darkness. Then the convergence happened. The Empire launched a final assault against the Crystalline Collective. The machine intelligence saw an opportunity and attacked both sides. The three great powers met in a battle that would determine the fate of all existence. Their fleets numbered in the millions. Their weapons could crack planets in half. And caught in the middle was a small human colony ship. The ship was called the Horizon. It carried 10,000 humans who had finally reached out to explore the stars. They had no weapons. They had no shields. They were children walking into a battlefield where giants were killing each other. The commander ordered his ships to destroy the Horizon. It was in the way. It was insignificant, one more death in a war of trillions. But the captain of the Horizon, a woman named, did something unexpected. She opened a communication channel to all three fleets. She broadcast her message across every frequency, forcing everyone to hear her words. She told them to stop. That was all. She simply told them to stop fighting. She told them that she could see their worlds burning on her sensors. She told them that their children were dying while they threw ships at each other. She told them that there had to be another way. The commanders of all three powers laughed at her. What could one small human do against their might? What could words accomplish when weapons had failed for? Did not fire a single shot. Instead, she flew the Horizon directly between the three fleets. She put her ship in the crossfire. She made every commander face a choice. They could continue their battle and kill 10,000 innocent people, or they could pause for just one moment. The Crystalline Collective fired first. Their beam cut through the Horizon and destroyed it instantly, and all 10,000 humans died in a flash of light. But had known this would happen. She had recorded her final message and set it to broadcast the moment her ship was destroyed. In that message, she said she forgave them. She said she understood their fear and their anger. She said she knew they had been fighting so long that they had forgotten any other way. And she said that she believed they could be better. She believed that somewhere inside their hearts, they did not want to kill anymore. She was just one human, she said, but she hoped her death would mean something. The battle stopped. Not forever, not immediately, but for one moment the guns went silent. The commanders looked at the debris that had been the Horizon, and they felt something they had not felt in centuries. They felt shame. The commander was the first to open negotiations. He said he could not stop hearing the human woman's voice. He said he saw her face when he closed his eyes. The Crystalline Collective agreed to talk. Even the machine intelligence, which was supposed to have no emotions, requested a ceasefire. The peace talks took 50 years. There were setbacks and betrayals and moments when everything almost fell apart. But every time the negotiations failed, someone would place final message. They would remember the woman who flew her ship into certain death because she believed that peace was possible. Slowly and possibly, the galaxy began to heal. More humans came to help. They served as mediators because they had no stake in the old wars. They offered solutions that no one else could see because they came from outside the conflict. They worked with impossible patience, never giving up even when everyone else wanted to quit. The humans understood something that the other species had forgotten. They understood that enemies could become friends. They understood that hatred could become love. They understood that the future did not have to repeat the past. Within 300 years, the Galactic Union was formed. Every species that had once fought to destroy each other now worked together. Trade routes replaced battle lines. Schools replaced weapons factories. Children grew up without knowing war. The humans did not lead the Union. They did not want to. They simply helped everyone else remember what they were capable of becoming. They told stories and sang songs and built bridges between peoples who had been enemies for longer than human civilization had existed. And then, when the work was done, the humans faded into the background. They returned to their colonies and their quiet lives. They did not ask for monuments or praise. They simply moved on to the next challenge, the next problem that needed solving. The keeper of stories opened his eyes. The children around him were silent, their young minds struggling to understand. One of them, a small with still soft scales, asked if the humans were still out there. The keeper smiled. Of course they were, he said. They had never left. They lived among all the species now, part of every community belonging to every world. They were teachers and healers and builders. They were parents and friends and neighbors. But most importantly, they were a reminder. They reminded the galaxy that even the smallest person could change history. They reminded everyone that hope was stronger than fear. They reminded all species that cooperation was more powerful than conflict. Another child asked why the humans had been willing to die for strangers. The keeper thought for a long moment before answering. He said that was the greatest mystery of the humans. They did not help others because they expected something in return. They did not sacrifice themselves for glory or power. They simply believed that every life had value. They believed that the universe was better when people worked together instead of against each other. This was the gift of the species, the keeper said. They had survived a planet that tried to kill them every day. They had evolved in conditions that would break any other creature, and instead of becoming monsters, they had become something beautiful. They had become the species that believed in everyone else. The children left the great hall that night with new thoughts in their minds. They looked up at the stars and wondered where the humans were. They wondered if they would ever meet one. And somewhere out there, on 1,000 different worlds, humans were looking back at those same stars. They were working and laughing and dreaming. They were helping their neighbors and raising their children and building tomorrow. They had no idea they were legends. They were just humans doing what humans had always done. They were surviving. They were hopping. They were refusing to give up on each other. And the galaxy was better for it. The keeper extinguished the lights in the great hall and went to sleep. Tomorrow, new children would come, and they would want to hear the story again. They always did. The legend of the species that united the entire galaxy never got old. Because it was not just a story about the past. It was a promise about the future.